Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Secrets of the Sire. We do this every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, talkradio.nyc, and streaming live on facebook.com/Secrets of the Sire and youtube.com/Secrets of the Sire. Tonight's episode, Into the Spider-Verse Oscar reactions. Fabian Nicieza in studio, co-creator of Deadpool, and we're going to bring up the great Cyclops debate. As always, I'm your host, Michael Dolce, and joined by my cohort in crime, Mr. Hassan Godwin. How you doing, sir?
I'm awake.
You're awake. That's good.
I'm wide awake.
That's it. And now we'll introduce to the world the great Fabian Nicieza, co-creator of Deadpool. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well.
All right. Now, did you tap the? Did you watch the Oscars? Did you digest the Oscars? Did you love the Oscars?
I did not watch the Oscars. I generally don't anymore.
Yeah.
But I watch all the highlights afterwards.
Yeah.
So, like on Monday, I just look through all the clips. I always see who wins. I usually wait 11:30, quarter to 12. Has the damn show ended yet? Have they posted the winners yet? So that's what that's what I do.
I feel like it's like a sporting event now, right? You can just catch the highlights after.
Yeah. I think
for
it's
the most
become
part.
a little bit too much of that, more than the actual movies themselves, which most people haven't even seen.
Hassan, big Oscar guy or no?
No.
That's not surprising, right?
No, I only watched it because you told me I had to.
Yeah, this is basically that was my
Kind of
homework.
how it works.
Yeah.
How was it without a host? What was that like?
Actually, it was really, really good.
That's what I've heard. That
It felt really fast. First, they had a musical opener, which was awesome. They had Queen with Adam Lambert.
Used to do that in the old days. Used to have big.
Well, they used to have a musical opener, but it would be like starring
Rob Lowe or
right.
something.
It was like starring the host or something, right? And in this case, they just had Queen come out and play a whole bunch of play a medley of all their hits and
that's nice.
and lead right into it. And so now they're like, well, every week we better have every year we better have like a musical movie like Bohemian Rhapsody up for nomination.
You mean the show that showcases and celebrates all entertainment, all high art that we have in our society? You mean they're thinking finally that they should actually put on a show themselves? To showcase the shows?
Do
no, they don't.
Just not
That's why I stopped watching.
Yeah, but it's a killer job to have to produce that, because think of the audience spread that you're trying to appeal to from a demographic standpoint. You got to appeal to 65-year-old moms in Indiana and cool guys like you, Hassan. It's really hard to do that.
And you're just saying that because of the sunglasses. I mean, that's very.
He's just saying that because it's not true. That's how. But
that's that sarcasm I touted. Now, Hassan, you get mad at me because I stretch the truth a little bit when I market our shows.
Quite a bit.
Lie, but I did promise a gasoline can full of sarcasm tonight because we have our guest in studio. I figured that was.
I'm rolling with it. I got my big boy shoes on.
Well, I know you can roll with it. You're usually like the one like pushing the boulder down the hill. If you're
I'm the one with the straightforward commentary, man.
Okay.
I'm the good one. I'm the one everyone likes.
So last week we that's not true at all. So last week
totally true.
We made some predictions. I think they were all wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said Roma.
I actually thought there was going to be a Black Panther surprise win.
No, that was never going to happen. Never. It was never going to happen.
Being a Nick and a Jet fan, there's always that sneaking
It's just an honor to be nominated.
Yeah.
And you're lucky you got into the Spider-Verse because that
was like a shoe and that was tracking so
it wasn't a shoe-in again. No,
it was tracking
so
high.
The Incredibles could have taken it, could have done an upset. Because it was a Disney choice.
I heard Isle of Dogs.
I heard
that one also
would have been the underdog. That would have snuck in.
Ooh, yeah, Isle of Dogs is the underdog.
So I mean, Into the Spider-Verse was almost the obvious choice because it was an outlier, came out of nowhere. It was a runaway hit, almost immediately. It was almost unanimously loved by all of fandom, which never happens.
Right.
So usually they don't pander like that, and I don't mean to say that the win was a pander, but usually it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
We lost the World Series after 9/11. Like the universe doesn't always work the way it's supposed to.
This is true, actually.
So it but the fact that it did, I think we got that because we didn't get Black Panther.
Yeah.
So it was.
The people who are doing the voting aren't often parsing it out that way.
They're not doing anything. If you watch,
sometimes you get the feeling though that when they're doing the voting, they really do look at it because how come the best director doesn't always win Best Picture? You know what I mean? Because
sometimes the Best Picture isn't done by the best director.
No, I understand, but there's sometimes you get this feeling that they're kind of sitting there going, well, I want to reward both of these people that made these, so I'll reward you with the best picture and you with the best director.
Has anybody ever wondered, like you said, though, how does a director win best director if his picture doesn't win best picture? How can you be a best director?
Well, because you can vote for someone for the directing job they do, and the screenplay or the acting may not have been as good as another picture. This year was a perfect example. I think Cuarón is a fantastic director, and I think he did a fantastic job directing Roma. But I couldn't stand the damn movie. I hated the movie.
And it should have definitely won.
So if it had won Best Picture, I would have thrown my TV out the window. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have cared. But
Fabian's got through a lot of TVs in his time.
The fact that he won director didn't bother me at all because it was a gorgeously directed movie.
I haven't. That's the only one of all of them I didn't see, and I really wanted to see it before the show, and I just couldn't. I couldn't do it.
The other. So
it was too omnipresent. Like every time I went on any social media platform, I got hit with a Roma ad, which is why I thought it was a shoe-in because they had to have spent like $30 million like advertising that movie.
All those movies we talked about last week. They spent anywhere between 25 and 30 million. It was every movie was with the exception of Star is Born. Actually, they said that was the weakest in terms of budget spent to try to get the vote
because they knew they had no chance in hell of winning Best Picture.
Still haven't seen that. I saw the beginning of that. I still haven't watched. I wasn't not interested in it. I just haven't had the chance to sit down and finish it.
I recommend you watch the clip of them singing "Shallow." And then you're pretty much done.
Yeah,
that's the whole movie.
That's pretty much it.
For me, honestly, the movie could have ended right then and there, and it would have been a great short feature film. It would have been great. It could have been nominated as best short. It would have been perfect.
It goes through that was
TV
cutter.
number 269 for Fabian when he watched that.
It goes through the motions, doesn't it?
Born.
Like the cookie cutter storytelling motion of person.
Well, it's like the third remake.
Person finds underling, underling outshines person who finds them, and then they reconcile towards the end. I mean, and I haven't seen it. I'm not spoilering it, but
no, you are, but it's okay.
But I'm asking. It just goes through that mode, just because Queen does that to the Bohemian Rhapsody goes through that heavily, and I mean at the expense of history, of genuine history.
Yeah.
And the only problem with Bohemian Rhapsody is I was so into Queen. I so know the Queen history that even though it had this really feel good ending and really strong narrative, this rise and fall and rise again narrative, it was like, this hurts because I know none of this is I know this story,
right?
So it was I'm happy. I'm happy Freddie Mercury is on everyone's mind again for this duration. I like Rami Malek because Mr. Robot and some of the other stuff that he's done, so I'm happy for him. I think he did a great job. I don't know if that's a great movie. I don't think it was that great a movie. But what it did to history was one of the more egregious ones because I know everything with the King's speech didn't happen like that.
Right.
There was no music playing while he was making his speech, and
there wasn't.
No. And,
spoiler.
So I'm just I know
there was no music playing when John Travolta strutted down the street in Saturday Night Fever either.
I know.
Music gets added onto the movie.
No, I'm just saying. I know for a fact that these little historical...
Don't break our show, Fabian.
Yeah.
159 episodes in.
Spastic size 12 feet tripping over
That's
the
why
cable
he
wires.
only calls in. That's why we have him calling, because he breaks things.
So there were two big stories for the Oscars, and then we'll go to commercial break and we'll talk about the comic book ramifications of Black Panther and Spider-Verse. But the two big stories were Green Book winning, first of all, and the second one was Spike Lee's reaction to Green Book winning, which as a Nick fan I kind of get because he's like that at Nick games and he even said afterwards he's like, I thought the ref made a bad call.
He's emotional.
But as a Nick fan too, it makes total sense. He must be delusional because there was never any article written that said Black Klansman had a chance of winning Best Picture.
I don't think he was upset because Black Klansman didn't win Best Picture.
He was upset that Green Book won.
He was upset that Green Book won Best Picture because he had a pretty funny line, something like I never have a good year when someone's driving somebody.
Because he lost to Driving Miss Daisy. He lost to Do the Right Thing to that as well.
And I get aspects of the backlash against Green Book.
Right.
It is a very trite, feel-good movie. I don't. We were talking about it at the office a couple of days ago, and it's less of a white savior movie to me, quite frankly. African American guy hires a white guy to be his bodyguard. White guy acts as his bodyguard. Where's the white savior complex? The guy's getting hired to do his job, and he's doing it. The actual arc of the movie is white guy throws a glass out in his kitchen because two African American workers are there in his house, drink from his glass, and he throws it out. And that same guy at the end of the movie invites this guy to his house for dinner on Christmas Eve.
Right.
There's an arc that should be talked about a little bit more than he rescued him in a bar when he was about to get beat up.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
The movie's a trite, feel-good movie, but I don't think those are the things that you should be criticizing. You know?
Yeah. As a white man, Hassan, what do you think?
I'm tan. I'm tan, by the way. So.
I think I kind of agree in the sense that maybe he shouldn't have behaved in that manner. You know, it's kind of a bad look, and I'm all about like the optics of it. Like, no, come on, man, that you would have been able to make your statement a lot better if you had just made a statement instead of throwing chairs around and punching Julia Roberts on the way out. But I think the point was that it's another one of these movies that looks at race through the eyes of a white man. Mm-hmm. And so that's what. And Black Klansman certainly wasn't that.
No,
movie.
absolutely.
And so
not.
they always pick the safe choice. It's like
that was the safe choice by far.
But that's the funny thing though. Again, so there's two separate arguments. Was Green Book the best picture? I would actually kind of sit there and say probably not.
Having seen, I think almost all of them, none of them were the best picture.
I do agree with that as well too.
Braveheart wasn't the best picture.
Braveheart was so amazing.
Well, neither was Gladiator the best picture.
No, I didn't think Gladiator should have won best picture. But Gladiator was kind of almost like a comic book win, right? Like that was like Black Panther winning because.
Well, so was Braveheart.
Yeah.
It really wasn't the best picture that year. It was a great picture.
Yeah.
I didn't like the ending, but it was a great picture.
He should have won. Yeah. He should have become king of England.
That's how I felt, Kevin.
There was music playing
when that. You would have had no problems with that history being rewritten. That would have been okay to you because you didn't know about the history in advance.
I wasn't there. I don't know what the Scottish Rebellion. What the hell?
Well, Gibson became king.
Yeah. Shouldn't he?
I didn't know that.
And Danny Glover should have been there. He would have been all right, But
but the other argument though is again
they're never the best picture.
Black Klansman though again
wasn't the best picture.
Yeah, so he's sitting there going like, "Oh, I always lose out when someone else is driving." It's like, no, I think you would have lost out to Black Panther. To be honest with you, like I was expecting Black Panther to win before Black Klansman. I'm not saying Black Klansman was a bad movie.
Black Panther wasn't going to win because that wasn't a safe movie, and that wasn't even about race.
Yeah,
there was no statement of race except for Killmonger and his and he was wrong. Like he was coded wrong in the film. So it really had nothing to do with the controversy. The only controversy was that that movie existed in the first place.
It did win Best Costume, and a lot of people are wondering if that's enough. We'll ask that question, and Fabian will answer that.
We don't have to cliffhanger that one. It's not enough.
When we come back.
Introducing The Mainstream, created by Michael Dolce, Talent Caldwell, Tony Moy, and Darren Sanchez. It tells the story of an interdimensional police force, polices alternate realities, keeps bad guys from other worlds from getting into ours. Issue 5 in stores now. Order it at your local comic book store or go to mikebooks.com/store.
Woo woo!
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
The thing that bothers me the most of all is people who say he was created to be a parody of Deathstroke. Does Deadpool have a butler named Spearmint?
No.
Does Deathstroke have a butler named Wintergreen?
Yes.
If Deadpool was a parody of Deathstroke, in my poor lack of skill fashion back in 1991, he would have had a butler named Spearmint, wouldn't he?
Secrets of the Sire.
Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, talkradio.nyc. I want to give a shout out to our beloved patrons. Go to patreon.com/Secrets of the Sire. Craig Caruso, Einar Peterson, Matt Byer, Ashley Haikai, Omar Morales, our program director, Stephanie Dolce, and as always, our Uber fan, Christina Dolce, who's put 2 kids to bed right now. God bless her. We are talking Oscars. We are talking Oscar hangover, debating whether Green Book was the best movie, which I kind of agree with you, Fabian. There is, I thought all the movies were a little lackluster. So that's why I kind of thought Black Panther was going to pull this one out. I really did. After a while, I was like, I wonder if just people in general, they invited, a more diverse Academy. They've gotten younger too. And I was like, is this gonna be one of those little like sleeper hits where a
Sleeper Hit is the highest grossing movie of
but a sleeping Oscar hit.
You wouldn't be able to call it a sleeper
Titanic
hit.
Also, I mean, was the
they
highest grossing
didn't
film.
call that a sleeper hit.
No, because that was tracking to be the number one film. All right, the big question that I teased that Hassan answered already is the best costume, and I think what was the other one that was something like that as well too. Hair design or costume or something was the win. It did win 3. Yep, we're almost there. See,
I'm not doing a thing.
Now we got it.
I hear it now.
Now we go. You gotta. That's right. I made that motion.
You got been doing that since 6th grade.
I don't know.
Yes, I think those 3 wins is more than enough. Yes, I do.
I actually think so too.
You want to know why I think so? Yeah. Because it doesn't matter.
No,
because the movie made over $1 billion,
isn't that what
it entertained hundreds of millions of people all over the world? So how many Oscars it wins in the bigger scheme of things doesn't matter.
Obviously, Hollywood has learned that those movies are lucrative, and that's probably the only accomplishment it really needed to.
But doesn't it always, isn't there just a giant chip on all of our fanboy shoulders to be like,
not on
the
mine.
Stuff that, well, you're not a fanboy. You're a creator. It's much different. Except when you're a fanboy.
Except for the times it's not different.
See, at the end of the day. No, but seriously, there's this giant chip on a fanboy's shoulder that says, look, it's almost like the anti-Bill Maher, right?
No, because then there would have been controversy about that because everyone thought that The Dark Knight or that Logan should have won and that Black Panther didn't deserve. They were already talking, but there were hundreds and hundreds of articles and vids about how Black Panther doesn't deserve to win Best Picture anyway. And it would just be affirmative action
But in
deal.
a field of really good movies, which I think all of the Best Pictures nominees were, right? They're all really good movies. There wasn't one stand out unbelievable, this should definitely win it kind of field. I think people's my own hopes were kind of up a little bit, and there's a sense of legitimacy if you could walk away with Best Picture, because then it's almost like you've completed the Revenge of the Nerds, story arc, right? You become the big man on campus by the end of it, right?
My attitude is just a little more relaxed about it. I honestly think it won what it deserved to win.
Yeah,
I thought that the categories that it won in were the categories where it was the best in.
Yeah,
I thought its production design. That's what production design.
There we go.
Costume design. That I thought those 2 things in that movie were head and shoulders above pretty much anything else out there last year. So I was glad that it won those. I don't think it quote unquote deserved a Best Picture.
Sure.
But I'm not a big fan of just about any of the movies that were nominated for Best Picture.
That's my point. There wasn't any film where I sat there going well, that was clearly head and shoulders above this movie.
If the category had been which movie did Fabian like the most, then
Isn't that
Black
the
Panther
Oscars?
would have won the Oscar. That would have been my preference.
Hassan goes Roma. No.
Yeah, well, just because it was everywhere and I haven't seen it, so it must be great. It must be a great movie because it was omniubiquitous.
The highest honor, though, of if you rate the categories, right? You rate what people were actually, the Academy wanted to not even show 4 or 5 of those categories that they showed because they're like, well, nobody really cares.
Yeah, cinematographer wasn't going to be broadcast.
Right, and then the Academy was like, and George Clooney's like, well, this is terrible.
I thought it was editing, cinematography, 2 of the most important things that go into making a movie, and they weren't going to show the award.
Yeah, but nobody cares.
But from a telecast point of view, I don't think anybody really cares because I don't think the average person even knows what a cinematographer does.
Doesn't matter.
Versus all the other stuff.
But the honest truth is, they shouldn't care what the average person cares about because the average person isn't making a movie.
Sure, no, and that's fair enough. But I guess what I was driving at though is that if you rate the the wins
voted down here, dude, you're getting voted down.
Oh, I'm getting voted down.
You are.
I didn't even.
He hasn't finished his point.
I didn't even actually cast a vote.
We've actually interrupted.
Right, I didn't even actually get. This is what ends up happening.
That's kind of what the job is,
Hassan
Fabian.
essentially shoots me down before I even make a point.
Yeah, I'm doing my job.
And then I'm kind of like, but dude, I didn't even,
Yeah,
I didn't
it doesn't
even
matter.
get there.
No, you're wrong.
It's like
you
cut the brakes. I had to
finish
turn
your
the car
question already. My God.
So if we're rating the categories in terms of most important to least important, what they ended up winning for, and I'll say least important in terms of what people's interests are and what people would say are the most important, just from a subjective opinion, right? Winning best production design is almost like, well, it's like a JV award. We won a varsity award. We won something big. Now, Into the Spider-Verse did actually win the highest honor it possibly could, right? I mean, best animated feature. I guess it could.
Yeah, but why wasn't it nominated for Best Picture?
I think technically,
that's not
guess
fair.
It could have been
ghettoed into the animation category.
He said it. I didn't. This is where I get it.
What is that? Why?
I'm just saying. I didn't say it.
Is ghetto supposed to mean something to me?
He's trying to make it a Black Tan thing.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? He turned it into an ethnicity thing. He does this all the time. That's why I just leave him hanging like that.
I know.
See, I don't even have to work for it, Fabian.
But I look to him for approval. But a lot of people also are sitting there saying what exactly you said, right? Why can't it be Best Picture? Why is it still not quite?
It's an animated movie.
But at the same time, it could be still Best Picture. But to me, I think that's one of the most important things. At the end of the day, Spider-Man won an Oscar, right? I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's
the only Spider-Man movie to win an Oscar.
Yeah, but I love walking out of there being like, yeah, Spider-Man won an Oscar. Like, to me, there's something really amazing about that.
The Oscars don't matter.
They do matter. If they didn't matter. They would be the lowest rated thing on television.
They only matter because we keep telling people like us, keep telling everybody they matter. That's like talking about the Oscars over and over again. I didn't watch the Oscars, and I still have the benefit of having seen the Oscars because seconds after the Oscars aired, I got all the information I needed from a 2-minute article. And I saved myself the 2 hours it would have taken me to accumulate all that knowledge.
But then
on
you
my
would have
own.
missed Keegan-Michael Key floating in.
No, I didn't miss it. You understand what I'm saying?
So a clip of it.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Toy Fair now.
Yeah, or the same with the Super Bowl. Like if you watch
the ball game.
The ball game.
Yeah.
If you watch the ball game. Right, and you're in it
literally
just for the
we
commercials.
spent our post Super Bowl episode, and he kept saying the ball game.
Yeah, because he won't stop saying at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So revenge.
This is true.
Revenge is a dish best served to Hassan.
He's been working on that all week.
5 seconds. Yeah, right. 5 seconds after.
I don't know if it worked because he should be wanting to serve revenge to someone else, not have it served to him.
No. The revenge is getting it served to me. Having someone serve me my food is revenge.
Is that like having your cake and eating it too?
Exactly. Or eating my cake and having it too.
That's totally different.
I'm already bored of this conversation. What were you going to say?
The Super Bowl is the same way. Like the commercials. I don't have to watch the Super Bowl to see the commercials. They're going to be in YouTube seconds later. Someone's going to put all of them in a block.
Yeah, but the Super Bowl is a great analogy for this, right? Like some of us actually like watching the game. I mean, at the end of the day,
that's fine, but it doesn't. It's like that's what I'm saying. It doesn't really matter. And then when you at the end of the game, all they're doing is talking about the highlights of everything that everyone did wrong during the game, or all the commercials that sucked, right?
Yeah.
So it's not even like it's a viable part of a conversation. It's not even useful. The biggest thing I got out of the Oscars is that Chris Evans didn't let Regina King fall on her butt.
That was very nice.
He's
of
a
him.
really
awesome.
nice guy.
That was very Captain America of him.
And so it's almost like a narrative. And he just happened to be there. He was like, surprise.
He's always there when someone needs to be saved. It's amazing to me.
All right, well, we want to know what you guys think. Chime in the comments feed. We definitely we're on Facebook.com/Secrets of the Sire. I'm very curious what Brian Everham has to think. He's our super fan who will always comment, which I love. Dan Lawson sometimes will comment as well. We'll get some good feedback on that. Real quick, Fabian, give me your roundup of the implications this has on the comic book universe that we love.
I don't think it has any implications as far as Marvel Cinematic Universe or whatever Warner's doing. I think it will have some implications on animation. I think Spider-Man's success qualitatively as much as quantitatively is going to have an effect that the studios will start to look at more viable opportunities for comic book based properties or franchise extensions that maybe Disney will make a better animated Marvel movie than their TV shows are or things like that, or their home video, their Netflix things I can see
that are just atrocious. That some of them are just absolutely horrible. Like some of the DC movies, I've seen some of them are good, and then there are others that they just cranked out, and it's a viable market, and they're not taking advantage of it. But again, that's Warner.
And listen, it was successful, but it wasn't so successful that they're going to think of it as printing money.
Sure.
I mean, it had a $90 million budget. I think it made $300 million globally. I think something like that. So that's not an easy win monetarily, but they're very happy. I know everyone's happy about it qualitatively, which drives studio heads to make choices about the things they do because they love to be patted on the back for a job well done.
It's fun. Whenever it does happen. On the rare occasions when it actually happens.
Hassan, are we ever seeing a comic book movie get nominated for Best Picture?
Sure.
In the next 5 years?
Oh, man, you're going to narrow. Yes. Yes, because of the backlash from this year. It'll happen next year or the year after.
You mean, wait, nominated or winning?
Nominated.
Okay.
I just think nominated, period.
Well, we already had that.
I think we've had that now, but I think it's going to be hard. I think it'll be hard to get another one.
I can't foresee another Marvel movie
in the short term
being nominated unless it's so standalone. In a way, that was kind of the success of Black Panther, right? Is that it was so standalone, you could go in there and watch it as its own movie, not necessarily connected to the rest of the Marvel, Thanos storyline that they were building. So I'm curious if they're going to even come out with another film.
Captain Marvel. They'll do it with Captain Marvel.
No, Captain Marvel's not getting
first Marvel.
I think it'll be New Mutants.
See, I would see New Mutants get nominated before Captain Marvel if it ever comes out.
It'll be Captain Marvel because of another controversy. It's a chance. It's another big controversy movie.
I don't think Black Panther got nominated for Best Picture because it was a controversy. I think it got nominated because it was a really good movie.
Okay.
Right?
I don't remember a lot of controversy around, not that much around Black Panther. And it blew it out of the water the second it came out because everybody said, "Crap, this is really effing good. I better shut my mouth." You know?
They tried it though. The narrative was really strong for it when it started, and then they tried to resurge the controversy when it was getting nominated as to whether or not it was. I
use my dad as a litmus test because we go to see these movies together, and he's not. He has no knowledge of the comic book universe, or he has no, he has bits. He read Batman back in the 50s, when he was a kid, like that kind of thing. So there's no point of reference. So he'll walk out of there and go, boy, he walked out of Spider-Verse saying, that's not what I expected. I didn't think another Spider-Man movie was going to be good, but that was really good. And even Black Panther, he's like, boy, that was just really good. And the look on his face is like, okay, that passes the average Joe litmus test for me, So, all right, when we come back, we're gonna resurrect a I guess it was a Twitter feud that you were having because
it's a blood feud.
Why not? When we come back,
you're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Do you love or are you intrigued about New York City and its neighborhoods? I'm Jeff Goodman, host of Rediscovering New York, a weekly show that showcases New York's history and its extraordinary neighborhoods. Every Tuesday live at 7 p.m., we focus on a particular neighborhood and explore its history, its vibe, its feel, and its energy. Tune in live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Do you like comic books and movies? How about TV and pop culture? Then you've come to the right place. Hi, I'm Michael Dolce, host of Secrets of the Sire. Joined every week by my co-host Hassan, Lord of the Radio Godwin. Together, we have over 15 years' experience creating graphic novels, screenplays, and more. Join us as we bring you the inside scoop on the pop culture universe you love to talk about. Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, talkradio.nyc.
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
Give me a vote, Bobby. What do you think? Steel or Nick Fury?
I'm going. I loved Steel growing up, and I haven't seen it in almost like 15 years. But things were limited in the 90s. We didn't have many superhero movies to turn to.
James Quarandango said this is like asking which eye you want poked out.
Secrets of the Sire.
Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, talkradio.nyc, and streaming live on facebook.com/Secrets of the Sire. Being that we have one of the most prolific comic book writers in the business, it'll be a joy to talk comics with you. But first, I think the question I want to ask, and I think I've actually asked you this before off the air, is what does it feel like to have, essentially you and Liefeld, not essentially. You and Rob Liefeld created Deadpool. You created X-Force. You had a hand in sculpting a lot of, for better or for worse, the stuff that the average Joe goes to the movie theaters to see. How does it feel to see that up on screen and to see the reaction to a character like Deadpool from the general public for you?
First, I want to qualify that when you say off air, you mean in real life. Okay?
Correct. Yes. Right. No. There's Fabian. There's only on air,
and off air,
and off air.
I got to change his diaper off air.
Our off air conversations.
Man, I really got to take a dump off air.
We'll not make it to on air. Well, that you could do on air. That's okay.
It's fine. It's cool. I like it. I like it if it's good a heck of a lot more than if it's bad.
Yeah.
So, I didn't like Wolverine Origins. That made me sad.
Yeah.
For about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I was okay because I had no control over it.
Sure.
I like the Deadpool movies because they're really good and they make a lot of money and that's better. That's good. It's good for my brand. It helps me at conventions and all that stuff. But it's not. It doesn't change, I was said, like I went to the first movie premiere years ago, and I still had to take the train home, and when I got home I still had to walk the dog, and the dog still took a dump, and I still had to pick up the dump. So what?
That was off air.
How did that? I had to pick up the dump off air. How did my life change in any significant way?
Sure.
As a result of having gone to the premiere and gotten hugged by Ryan Reynolds. I mean, I do Skeevy. Put a lot of it in perspective. No, actually, it was like hugging a cloud made out of.
I was going to say, I got to interview Ryan Reynolds years ago. I mean, he is
a specimen.
Is he silky? He's very silky.
He is actually incredibly silky.
He's like one of those guys that makes you hate yourself, except he's awesome. So you kind of
you're like all right with hating.
You're all right. You're like
him being way better than you.
You're just way better than me. It's cool, but you're not like a dick about it. So I'm cool with that too.
Yeah,
so
no, I got a story I tell, but I usually need space to do it because it's a visual. But we were talking at the first movie premiere off to the side. It was Ryan and me and Rob and Rob's wife Joy and a couple other people. This is the first time he had met me, and he had a few minutes before he had to do things. So he gets tapped on the shoulder and they say he has to go do the press stuff. And he went from being normal, regular guy, albeit really handsome and built like a rock and in a perfect suit. But as he walked away from us, you could actually see his body and his posture elevate and grow. Like he grew like 2 inches as he was walking in order to go see the press and all the cameras. And you could actually watch the transformation happen as he was walking away from you. It was actually phenomenal because he's acting like a movie star, you know? But when he was with us, he was actually just talking like a regular guy.
Yeah. It's funny because I know him from Nickelodeon. When he was a kid, like, you know, what was that? Three guys, a girl in a pizza shop. And then into like a superhero. You know, it's just kind of like, wow, that's
Van Wilder was always that was the film that.
But he used to get it. If you can get everybody to keep paying you to be you, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But him and Deadpool was like a marriage made in heaven. It really was.
It's amazing,
it's a perfect pairing.
Yeah, because that is his character. That's totally him. So it works perfectly for that.
What were the early
Green
days
Lantern,
like?
I don't know.
When you and Rob were creating these characters, like, I mean, was he? Because obviously, you know, this is like 1989. We're not talking internet.
90, 91, 92. Look, I got a 9-to-5 job at Marvel. I'm commuting in from Jersey. I'm already writing 2 books a month before I even get the scripting assignment on New Mutants. So it's a part of the whole for me. He's a freelancer living in California. You know, doing his work from there. So most of it's on the phone or through fax, and I'm talking original rolled paper faxes. That's how I got New Mutants '98. It was a rolled paper fax machine I had in my townhouse.
And that's what he would do, though. He would send you the art, and then you'd have to just kind of.
I would get the rough layouts, really rough layouts sometimes, really rough layouts sometimes. And I would talk it through with him. Sometimes he had border notes for plot informations. That I don't remember too many of the plots actually being written out, but they were written out on the side of the border notes, and then we'd talk it through, and then I'd go script it. I did it because it was going to be easy money, I thought, and I was already writing 2 books a month, and I thought it was going to sell really well. I really liked his energy and his enthusiasm. I thought it was going to sell well, which meant I was going to make nice royalty checks on it, and I did. So it was all good. But the work process got harder and harder. The later and later the book got, the more and more his interests were in developing image, and it's all understandable. This isn't a judgment or a criticism. He's a 22-year-old guy in the middle of starting a brand new company and creating an exodus of the top artists from Marvel to leave. So he's got a lot on his plate too. I get that part of it, but at the end of the day, I'm working for Marvel. I still got to get a book out every single month. I don't want to have to get the pages out of order and those scripts all due the next day. That's frustrating. It's a frustrating working method. He drew less and less. All you got to do is look at the actual issues. By issue 6, he wasn't even drawing anything anymore, pretty much. And that got harder and harder because we had Rob clones, or we had multiple artists or multiple inkers. It just became frustrating. So when he left,
to a 12-year-old boy,
you guys don't get it. But
I couldn't tell. I would.
Yeah,
you know,
I was,
like years later.
I was a little older, and I was just getting to the point where I could start to tell that these art styles are kind of changing. And these, you know, or that certain books with certain people in the masthead of a book, it will be a certain kind of book. Yeah. Like I was just at that phase of starting to realize, like, wait a minute, all these books that I really like have this penciler guy with the same name. Right. So that's kind of where I was. But yeah, it was just on the cusp of that, of the Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, you know, that kind of circumstance. And then all of a sudden they were all gone, you know? So and then Image started.
You took over both books. You took over X-Men and X-Force. Your X-Force run with
But I wasn't even involved in X-Men before that.
No.
It was supposed to be John Byrne scripting off of Jim and Wils's plots.
Right.
And I was given X-Force or X-Men 12 and
Scott
13
Lobdell?
as inventory stories.
Like Scott Lobdell
that was uncanny. He took over scripting Uncanny.
He's talking about X-Men.
I'm talking about adjectiveless.
I
don't know how many issues of X-Men Scott scripted because Byrne didn't. At one point, Byrne refused to script an issue in like a day, and I don't blame him at all. He said no, and Bob came to my office. Bob Harris, the editor, came to my office, and it was like 6 o'clock, and he comes to my office. He goes, I need like an issue scripted. I don't think it was overnight, but it was close to it. And I said, no, I can't do it. He's like, I really need you to do it. I was like, I can't do it. Part of me didn't want to do it because I didn't want to be bailing Burnout, because I thought I should have gotten that assignment to begin with, and I didn't want to be bailing Jim and Wills out either. And Scott Lobdell walked past my office door, my office, and we had glass walls, and he walked past heading down to another editor's office, and I look at Bob, and Bob goes, no, and I look at him, and I go, yes, and Bob goes, no, I go, yes, Scott's going to do a good job, and Bob's like, just his shoulders just shrunk. It was the anti-Ryan Reynolds. He just deflated, and he had the pages in his arm too, and he got up and he left my office and he went walking down the hall and he gave this issue to Scott. Scott did an excellent job, and he did the grunt work overnight or in 2 days or whatever, and he got the assignment. But when it came time to decide, Bob decided one guy gets one book, I get the other book.
Right. Scott ended up doing Uncanny
and I ended up doing
exactly.
X-Men.
Right.
Or the gold team, gold and blue, right?
Gold and blue.
I don't remember the colors.
Yeah,
so you took over X-Men, and that's a daunting role. You had the whole Quanon storyline with Psylocke too.
Yeah, that was a mess.
Try to clean things up.
You know the funny story about that? The one bit of reference I needed was in the only issue of X-Men I didn't have. And I didn't know I didn't have it. So I predicated an entire story based on faulty referencing because I was missing one issue.
Which issue was
it? Look, I forget what number it was.
My God.
But it was the issue that showed her transforming from British Betsy to Asian Betsy. And I thought they never had shown that. So I decided that let's make a story out of this. British Betsy's still around somewhere. And it was the one issue I was missing, and I didn't realize it. That's all. And then someone pointed out to me afterwards, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" I go back and I go to my basement to grab my collection, and I'm flipping through the numbers, and it's not there. And I'm like, "What the hell?"
It's through the Siege Perilous or something like that.
That was my least favorite storyline from you, and I got to be honest
it was
with
a
you.
cluster.
The funny thing about it though is, I say that because your X-Force run with Greg Capullo is still one of my favorite runs of all time.
It's one of the best runs ever in the history of comics.
I actually know in the history of X-Force. Yes,
and Greg Capullo was like a treasure. He was kind of that I know of. Like as a fan, he just kind of came out of nowhere and was like.
But he didn't though. He actually worked his way
I know.
to get that book.
He busted his butt, but I mean, like I didn't notice him until he was on X-Force, you know, and it was like, wow, this guy's, and that's just after we had lost all these, you know, and it was Greg Capullo was like, it was kind of a wonderful substitute.
You got to understand,
thing is
none of the higher ups in the office were worried about the whole image exodus. And a lot of people in editorial weren't that worried.
You guys weren't upset.
We weren't. We knew what we had waiting. We knew that we had Joe Quesada waiting to do X Factor.
Sure.
We knew that we had Greg on X Force. We knew we had Andy on X Men. We weren't that worried. The sales bore it out. I mean, the sales were as good, if not stronger.
That's but from the outside, it was like,
well, I'm here, Hassan. I'm here for inside baseball, or as you call it, ball game.
I'm here for inside ball game. But you can't condemn me for not having been inside.
Where did that inside baseball reference even come from? Now I don't believe anything about you.
Wait, you believed anything about me before this?
Here's the funny thing too about Greg Capullo's artwork, real quick before we go to commercial too. I mean, if you look at it at the time, it was really good, but look at the stuff he's doing now with Batman, or that he was doing Batman, and it's like some artists kind of like reach their peak, and then it's not downhill, but like I'll still take X-Men Jim Lee. Maybe Batman Jim Lee rivals that, maybe. But for the most part, I'll take his early X-Men work over any of the new stuff he does. Greg Capullo actually just continues to get better.
Greg evolves his style. And even look at his Quasar before he did X-Force. It's a very different drawing style. Jim hasn't really varied his drawing style since he originally broke in. He's bored. He's gotten better at drawing, but he hasn't changed his style.
Right.
And he's probably bored. His style. The style bores you after a while. Your solutions for certain artistic problems just start to not excite you anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like inside baseball to me.
Well.
We'll get some more inside baseball, and we are going to be doing it. The Great Cyclops Debate coming up next.
It's no debate.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
The best designs for your life start At Home. I'm David Thiergartner, interior designer and host of At Home. Listen live Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time as we talk to the very best professionals about interior design and the design that's all around us, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
TalkingAlternative.com.
Now in theaters, Beauty and the Beast is out, and there's big controversy with two because of the supposed gay relationship that takes place,
And I thought the real controversy would be about the bestiality.
Bestiality is not a problem.
Oh, yeah,
it's just
yeah,
homosexuality. We don't like that. Having sex with a giant beast, that's all right.
Secrets of the Sire.
I thought it was Mott the Hoople or something.
I like welcome back to Secrets of the Sire. Thanks for coming in here, Fabian.
My pleasure.
This is a lot of fun. We actually there's so much we can unearth the next time.
When I'm in the Upper West Side of Manhattan, I always pop on by.
That's the idea. That's the thought. We are talking Deadpool. We're talking X-Force. We're talking the early days of X-Men and everything with Fabian Nicieza. But I want you to explain to the audience this great debate, because was it between it's you and Gail Simone, correct? Am I correct in the?
It's mostly Gail Simone herself, but that's besides the point.
All right, it's a Cyclops debate about his Force blasters, whatever the heck. So give us the skinny.
It's technically not a debate, because a debate connotes two sides of an issue. Okay. There are not two sides to this issue.
There are two people arguing, which is essentially the basis for our show.
Debate is a nice way to say argument.
Gail Simone is probably one of the sweetest, best trolls on the internet. Yeah. Okay, she purposefully trolls for fun, and she knows the easiest way to push people's buttons, but she's just having fun at all of our expenses. She just wouldn't stop making fun of Cyclops, and she has every legitimate right to make fun of Cyclops, although I guarantee you she knows almost nothing about Cyclops and has probably read 5 X-Men comics in her whole life. But I couldn't take it anymore, so I started to defend Cyclops, and then she had the nerve to say that Cyclops has heat blasts.
Ooh.
When we all know that Cyclops blasts are force blasts, they come from an aperture that is eyes open and draw energy from another dimension. I didn't create any of this, guys. The other dimension stuff is really stupid, but that was the mid '80s and Mark Grunwald going out of his way to try to create scientific rationales.
That they weren't laser eyes.
Yeah. But it was force, and yes, you can find many examples, which Gail tries to use to her advantage in this non-debate, to show that people did it wrong in the comics and made it heat blasts. But by the time Roy Thomas was writing X-Men, it had already been established as force blasts, and it stayed force blasts the rest of the way. And all you got to do is read, Claremont and Burns' X-Men, and you see it described as concussive force blasts.
But how did he kill Mr. Sinister with it, though? That's interesting. Because he disintegrated Mr. Well, theoretically he disintegrated Mr.
Theoretically, he did, and they said some of that was because of the genetic thing, similar to how Alex and Cyclops' powers don't affect each other. Don't ask me why. There was something about Sinister's genetic makeup that had Summer's DNA in it that
allowed him to be
almost like a backlash to that. All right.
Okay.
And all of that is crap we have to make up after the fact because the writer writing it at that particular time, might have been Chris, was going to solve it 50 issues later. Which goes back to the Quanon stuff, because if Chris had done his damn subplots the way you're supposed to do your damn subplots, it wouldn't have been one panel every 6 months showing you the development of a subplot. It would have been every issue.
I base my
bit.
entire comic book writing knowledge on Chris Claremont.
Chris's subplots would they drove me nuts as an X-Men reader, to the point where I quit the book twice as a reader. Okay, just imagine what they made me feel like when I was an X-Men writer and I had to go back to find the reference.
I loved it because I was sitting there going like, I'm gonna do something with this.
No, it's not.
There are a couple of times, and he just never did. Like he just
do it, and then it would come up like 30 issues later, and be like, "See, I told you."
No, that's when his editor reminded him, you never did anything.
Whatever the reason.
No, he didn't. Probably not the editor. Probably a fan letter reminded him.
All right, so we've talked to Gail Simone. She's gonna come on the show at some point, and I'm gonna have her.
That's what she says.
I'm gonna have her.
She's a troll.
She's telling you what you want to hear.
To be honest with you, actually, the entire reason of having you on is to
try to lure her out.
Lure her in, yeah. And then we're just gonna invite both of you.
Gail
on.
can come on the show, but she'll never ever be able to establish her position on heat blasts with the same level of dignity and finesse with which I have established the force blast option.
She's not as tan as you
argument
are.
there.
She's not as tan. She's definitely not as tan as me. She's pretty much as Caucasian as you can get.
The beauty of this is that by having both of you on, Hassan and I just get a night off. And that's really what we're.
Yeah, we just let you guys.
Yeah, but we would actually probably just like have fun and get along and be really.
Yeah,
it would be the anti-show. It would be the show you don't want. It was the one we were talking about off air. where we're talking about doing a nice show for a day.
This middling podcast is terrible. They all agree.
We'd be in the sidelines trying to
poke the bear.
I lost it. Yeah, trying to incite
literally
violence.
You would have like long prods and you would be jabbing us to try to get us excited.
Fabian, didn't you say something about her hair the last time? What?
All right, we do this every week. We go spinning the racks.
Spin the rack, spin the rack.
That gets everybody, which is the best. Which is the best thing. All right,
one moment of weakness in the.
We're only gonna have time for one, so I'm squeezing this one in. R.I.P. DC Comics. This is from Cosmic Book News.
Oh God, you're great. Oh my. All right.
DC Comics continues to take a beating in the direct market. It has learned the company behind Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Justice League will be cutting their line. While rumors had it that DC would be cutting their line by more than half, the new 22 at the Comics Pro Retailer Summit. DC Comics Dan DiDio confirmed they would be cutting their publishing numbers back by a further 10 to 15%. As he said, that's what DC believes the market can bear.
All right. Number one, never go to cosmicbooknews.com for anything ever. And the fact that you did and went on air with it is reprehensible to me, okay?
Part of the problem.
Number two, when you cut your line back by 10 to 15% and you're putting it out 70 books a month, okay, that means you're cutting back 7 to 10 titles. That's not cutting the line in half or decimating the line or ceasing publication, which is what their clickbait headline would want you to believe. It's a natural correction to where their sales are right now. And if their sales dictate that they got to put out less books, it's smart to put out less books. It's better for the retailers. It's better for the fans.
What do you think is the future of comics, though, in general? I know it's a weird question because we ask these kind of questions, and there's no, it's all conjecture. But is the market strong right now? Is it?
I don't think the market's that strong right now in the comic book shops.
Right.
They're doing a lot. All the companies are doing a lot of things that are selling them copies in bookstores, overseas, internationally. Things that the comic book reader in the U.S. knows nothing about and is clueless about.
That's what I'm always curious. Hassan and I talked about this article also, and I'm always curious what the digital sales are. I'm curious. Because the retailers, the shops are dwindling. There's according to this article, 1,900 shops in the across the country or something where it used to be 22 or 2,300. But
hobby shops across the board are going out of business.
Retail across the board is struggling.
Right. So it's exactly. So I mean, like any specialty shop, anytime you're going to specialize on a particular retail item, if you don't have a particularly good year or season, you're going to go out of. I mean, you could just go out of business. It's not like even you have a dry spell. It means that you just cannot sell. You can't push any merchandise. You've overspent. You've overextended in buying the swag for the store in the first place, and you can't get rid of it. And then you're just going to go out of business. So I mean, I don't know if you can hinge the industries, the viability of the entire industry on certain sellers of the and how well they're doing, because a lot of that has to do with. With the market, with their presentation, with their location. I mean, a lot of that has to do with personal business decisions that the retailers made themselves. Sure. It has nothing to do with the industry.
Marvel sold over 500,000 copies of Ms. Marvel trade paperbacks, okay? That's not really going to the comic book shops, right? Raina, I always mispronounce her last name. It starts with a T. She does a series of books that sell in bookstores. She sold hundreds and hundreds of thousands of copies. New York Times bestseller list. The comic book customer who goes to a direct market shop is going to be clueless about that. Yeah. They're going to be clueless that Marvel is publishing content in multiple countries in their languages and selling thousands and thousands of copies in South America, in India, in Asia. They don't know that. So the companies are starting to focus where they're going to make money. And quite honestly, that's not in the direct market as much anymore.
I'm surprised it's lasted as long as it did. I mean, here's the thing that I thought was like shocking. Digital sales, you shouldn't pay more than $2 for a digital comic. You really shouldn't even pay that. Yeah. You should pay 99 cents really for a digital comic. There's no production. Music.
There's no print. There's no paper. There's no distribution. There's no shipping. There's no cut to a middleman or whatever.
Right. It's direct to your consumer at that point. But they placate to the retailers, which was a nice gesture.
But ultimately a mistake.
Yeah.
Because it's hindered their ability to sell more digital copies.
Right. So I mean, it's really fascinating. Is it your phone?
Nope.
Are you ringing right now?
Nope.
Is that the 2-minute warning on the ball game?
That's
a solicitation call because nobody's going to be calling me.
Well, Fabian, you're welcome anytime.
Thank you very much.
And I'm gonna dig stuff up. I'm always gonna dig stuff up because I just want you to take over the show, and this way we don't have to do any work.
All right, just challenge Gail to show up. That's all I'm saying. I just challenged Gail to show up.
Oh, I did. Next week,
just now, I just did.
Next week, we're going to welcome someone you know. Okay, Mr. Jeff Gomez. Yeah, been making his
should
fourth
bring him
appearance.
back too. Should have both of them. Have them debate each other.
Don't put me on with Jeff. Don't put me on with Jeff.
We're previewing Captain Marvel.
It'll turn into a fist fight.
This has been Secrets of the Side.